For the new movie coming out. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
It's a little too hyper realistic. Like I'm just used to the solid blue blur. Send me that picture. It's going up there. This is our intro.
Clink, clink. Nice try. You couldn't escape that. I was about to go in your eye. Hello, and welcome to Happy Hour. That'd be Strange Gaming's Happy Hour, where each and every week we come together to discuss with you video game and technology news. Over on my right,
Handsome John.
and on the other side,
On the Dale. Dispatcher Mark Clover.
and I am Brent, the Jesterhead Metcalf. We are drinking this lovely beer this afternoon. I actually made sure I took over the podcast notes just so I could put this in here because I want to drink a nice dark beer. This would be the DuClaw Wonderful Sweet Baby Java. They make a Sweet Baby Jesus. It's also fairly delectable.
This is better, honestly.
I agree with you. This has a nice espresso bean infused with chocolate peanut butter.
It actually, surprisingly, how you can get every note of all of those flavors instead of one overpowering the other. So kudos to them on that.
They're typically found, you can find Sweet Baby Jesus actually at Harris Teeter or other grocery chains, but you're going to want to go to something like a Total Wine or a craft beer store near you in order to get the Sweet Baby Java. But it is worth the trip.
It's worth the trip in general. You just have a better selection. Try something new every once in a while. You'll be surprised.
It's really important to try something new.
Oh, yeah. New things bring about good memories.
That's not the only thing.
And bad ones.
That's important.
Yeah.
Know what else is important?
Is it
The important.
Wasn't even bothered. I was like, he wants to mess it up. Go for it, dude. Everybody's like, let's do it in unison. Yeah, enough.
We had drinks before the show. We're going to move on to the dispatcher to talk to us about airlines.
Airlines?
Specifically JetBlue.
Are they color blue?
They could be.
Their plane blow up or something.
I think he forgot the story, is why he's like scrambling.
I'll tell it if you want.
Let me hurry up and read.
I'm super excited because I don't even own an Instagram account. What the fuck do you have to do for a free plane?
No, but JetBlue actually is going out with an interesting offer for a year of free travel, or for a chance to win a year of free travel.
Unlimited or like certain amount?
Like unlimited. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're the sweepstakes anyway. You have to go to their site and generate a small image anyway that they have, and you have to post it on Instagram. There's a caveat: you have to delete every photo on your Instagram account.
Done.
Everything. Now this is just for a chance to win it. Mm-hmm. So you have to nuke every photo that's on there, post theirs, and the idea is that they want your Instagram basically to just be reserved for the trips that you go on for that next year.
Okay.
And the idea is that you can post anything and everything you want, and you can use the hashtag for whatever, JetBlue's sweepstakes, that kind of thing. But I think it's an interesting concept that you're kind of asking people to go from a fresh slate here for them to...
You and I have the same question.
No, I don't know. We'll find out.
Okay.
No, you tell yours first, though.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's a very interesting concept. What if you don't have an Instagram? Could I create one today?
Probably.
Okay, there you go. Problem solved.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what if you don't have one? Do you get a free plane?
Well,
Congratulations, you're not a part of the everyday.
So it was kind of the same question.
Right.
No, but see, I always wondered, like, what would they do if you just created another Instagram account?
That's what I was just thinking too. Is like you could easily
you can put it on hold, can't you? Can't you like literally just take it down and archive everything and then bring it back?
Maybe. I don't know.
I've heard of people doing stuff. I mean, they do it all the time with branding and stuff like that with bands and everything. They take everything down for a short while, and they have like specific messages that they put up, and then when they're done getting berated by whatever evil thing they did, they put it back up.
I am definitely a part of certain specific social medias. Instagram is not one of them.
Nope.
I have no clue.
I was like burn, but I will say though, like, what are you supposed to like? I'm assuming they're not paying for your vacation and bills and everything else. So how many times I would take out a loan, but it could be like I'm taking a year sabbatical and I'm going to take out about $200,000 out in a loan, and I'm going to go do that, and then just work that off for the rest of my life. I've literally done all my vacations at once.
So if you plan it out right, you don't need a place to stay. You just need a place to shower. You could just sleep on flights back
You don't
and
need to
forth
do that.
constantly for a
You're
year.
not wrong. He's not wrong.
Dude, I've been on planes. People don't have to shower.
If you'd like to
it would be
shower, you
preferred
should.
that you do.
Yeah.
And actually, if you smell bad enough, they just won't let you on the flight.
You'll
But,
have
you know,
frequent flyer miles like crazy. They'll give you a shower while you're at the airport.
You know, that's an interesting concept. I don't know if they would actually, if you'd accumulate.
I
Because
don't
you're
see how you
technically
could.
not purchasing
Yeah, I
the
guess,
ticket.
yeah.
Ooh,
You're considered,
yeah, but you're flying it. So if you have a rewards program that you attach your flight to, then you probably could.
But see, because that's the thing. But so here's the other side of it:
Maybe. I guess.
is you're considered non-revenue. Airlines use classifications anyway of revenue versus non-revenue. Non-revenue could also include non-JetBlue employees that are flying, like American Airlines employees, that
So
kind of
you
thing,
can be
are like
bumped
hopping
and all
on
that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know if that's how that gets classified or not, or if you're actually considered a revenued passenger.
I would ask that question ahead of time and be like, hey, I don't feel like getting bumped on every flight I try to get because I will also bash you on my Instagram account that you gave me to do this with all of the attention that you're giving me. So I also want an admirable membership and all this other stuff.
But this sweepstake is valid now. What is this? It'll be through Friday's the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Through this coming Friday, as of 8 p.m. So as of the time that you'll be watching this, you have specifically 4.5 hours to figure it out.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Get it done.
Get on it now.
That is really exciting, though. I mean, the free flights, they're despite the stipulations, because there's always going to be stipulations for something that's free. Especially if they're not disqualifying you for not having it, then all the better.
Yep.
I'm excited about it.
Yep.
Moving on to something completely different, but does involve being in the air for a specific amount of time. What's happening with Fortnite and loot boxes?
That was a stretch.
That was a stretch, but hey, sometimes you gotta.
I was going to say a sweepstakes where somebody else wins millions of dollars in court, but no. Fortnite is currently being sued over predatory loot boxes. Anyways, how they're defining them. The concept is that the percentage chance of earning specific classes of items, specifically like higher tier items, that kind of thing, is not published.
Yeah.
So the public, the social media that goes out about this, like with popular Twitch streamers and things like that, is that they do win some of these items. Now, that could be rigged towards them because it promotes their content, that kind of thing.
So how do they know they're being rigged if it's not published?
So
But they don't know. That's the problem.
they didn't know. This is talking about specific cases in which they used to not have it published. They do now.
Right. And even then, the llama loot boxes, anyway, that they're talking about specifically don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there were llama pinatas that you would receive, and they would
Oh,
explode
okay.
and have things in them.
As you can tell, I play Fortnite.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I don't even play Fortnite. But
I like dancing.
no, the concept was that because they didn't know the percentage chance of getting each of these things, and some other particular anyway paid her child paid a lot of money, I guess, into this. They identified them as predatory in the sense that your kid thinks that you have a chance to do this, but they don't understand gambling at that age because it is borderline gambling to some extent.
Yeah, but you can't literally sue them for something that it's borderline. It's like saying that's borderline illegal. It's still not illegal.
But that's why you go to court to determine it, because if precedents get set for it, that changes the law.
Yeah, but we have gone through this road before, and it was predetermined that it was not gambling.
It depends on the country and the state.
Well, but it's not.
Country,
But they're not
absolutely.
using the term gambling here. They're using the term
Yeah.
predatory because it is rigged towards smaller children like that.
Well, yeah, that's not the only thing that was predatory involving Fortnite.
What I do find interesting here is that they have solved this problem because they got a bunch of flack for it, so they removed the issue.
But the problem is it ended up being too little, too late. I guess for this,
I feel like it's someone just.
But you don't
really
know what
stretching.
you're doing wrong until somebody says you're doing this wrong, and
How long? How many seasons ago was that? Like 7 seasons?
They're on season 8 right now. Again, though, I agree with you, except for the fact that they did realize they were doing wrong and they fixed the problem. Like
Right.
that is, they found the solution. At the time, they didn't know, and then they got a bunch of
well,
flack.
no. Well, but that's what I'm saying is you don't know you're doing wrong
Yeah.
until you have an overwhelming majority saying
Yes,
this is
correct.
bad. You should probably fix that.
I feel like this lawsuit is too little, too late. Like I
Yeah.
feel like
Oh, really?
at the time in which it was happening, sure, go after them. But you're talking about bringing this up now when they've already solved the problem. The issue no longer exists in the game. Like,
Do we
I'm
know
sorry your
when
kid
this-
spent a bunch of money, but
Yeah.
When was the lawsuit initiated?
They They haven't actually. I don't think they've actually filed.
I know they're
for it yet.
talking about it right now,
Yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that right now is when they decided to file. Or they just waited for an obscene amount of time to get angry about it. I think it's just one of the bandwagon things, is what it feels like to me. It's just someone's like looking for a decent way to get around.
Lawsuit went in February 28th.
Yeah.
Of this, so I feel like I would have to agree with you here. I feel, it's unfortunate your kid was stuck in this, but
Isn't it
solved the
illegal for them
problem.
to bind into a
that's-
contract anyway? So technically, you're the one that was supposed to buy it in the first place.
I forgot about this point. It's not even part of their
Battle Royale.
BR mode. It's
Yeah.
part of the Save the World co-op mode.
Correct.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means you have to purchase the game in order to actually have access to that, which is even crazier.
Yeah. So the
So then you pretty much
The ground that
agree.
they're standing on is that they didn't receive the desired loot, which is what they wanted anyway out of it, and I guess it wasn't clearly published that you had a very low % chance of getting some particular desired loot. They're going to sue on it.
That to me is like going up to one of those not a claw machine, the capsule
Yeah.
machines, and being like, "Oh, well, I wanted that sticker. It wasn't clear to me that there's only 5 in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry."
Or I have a 1 in 20 chance of getting it. I didn't know it was that
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
But we'll see. It sounds to me like it's going to crash and burn.
I kind of hope so. I don't really feel like it's anything justified.
I mean,
Speaking of crashing and burning,
Oh.
Oh wow.
I didn't want to get away from that segue because it was really good, and then you guys started talking over it, and I couldn't let it happen. John, talk to us about crashing and burning.
Which one do you want to talk about? Because
There's only
I
one
was
thing
saying
about
crashing.
crashing and
Oh,
burning.
okay,
crashing
thank
and
you.
bricking. Then.
I was thinking bricking too, and I was like, well, technically, there's a couple things that burned today. But Anthem is actually bricking PS4s, and it's a little scary.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we had a couple issues this past weekend playing where his froze, and mine just restarted the entire app.
Yours froze in the most interesting way.
Mine froze in
Yeah.
the most interesting way where I was trapped on a rock and I could move the camera, and that was it. And I was like, this is great, guys.
Could you see everything else moving around?
Oh,
you?
wow. I was in an environment where I could just move the camera, like, oh, that's a really
He
pretty
was gone
river.
off of my screen, like, and
It's
we were
fine.
just going around doing stuff.
But I couldn't leave because I was the party leader, so
But,
that meant that they have to finish.
You could have
I
left.
did have a hard crash as well.
Oh, really?
And then,
Oh.
Did it say it was like disconnected from? Oh,
yeah, and then
wow.
Brian had 3 hard crashes. Not only was my hard crash happened, and then I could not connect back to the server.
Well, like yesterday, they every time I started up a free play, it would start a timer. No, let's get through this original
Yeah,
part
sorry.
first.
Yeah.
So, people are having issues with the application rebooting, and then also a hard reset where it's acting as if it was disconnected from power in the middle of operation. And then it goes through. Then as you restart it, some people aren't even able to restart it, and it's bricking it after it happens so often. So my question is, how is an application doing that? Like literally mimicking a power disruption.
I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah, I
Well-
know, but like, why would that be in there?
So from a software perspective, just the developer part of me kind of thinking about this, a hardware to software interaction, you can't actually do that just from software alone, other than maybe going to the core of the operating system in the PlayStation 4 and saying, oh, wow, this is weird that this happened, that kind of thing, or whatever mechanism they have to identify a hard power cut like that, triggering it.
Well, I was about to say, they found a
But-
weakness within the PS4, and that's what it's probably doing.
But if it's just hard dying like that, that sounds to me like power delivery issues or software leaking into the power delivery unit. So in a computer anyway, you have a power supply that sits at the bottom. And in typical computers anyway, it's a completely separate module. It's literally a separate physical box, which is power cables that run up to the computer.
Yeah.
And it's one remote wire that says, I want to turn on power, or the majority of power, that kind of thing. On a PlayStation or an Xbox or even a laptop, that kind of thing, those power delivery units are actually part of the board, like part of the motherboard that's actually there. So whenever you plug it into the back of the PlayStation, because PlayStation doesn't have a power brick, does it?
Nope.
The power conversion that goes from AC to DC power is actually done inside the PlayStation on the motherboard. And then that power is spread out. Now, if they have the ability to, let's say, modulate the power from software, or even part of the operating system to modulate the power that comes out to go to the graphics chip, the processing chip, the memory, storage, whatever else, that kind of thing, if there's an ability or a hole there for the software to leak into that or to, let's say, modulate it wildly and trigger a bug that might exist in that software, it could cause maybe some hard resetting if, let's say, some bad input goes into the software to control the power delivery.
yeah.
Well, if that bricks it, you could overrun it with power. You could underrun it with power, that kind of thing. Now that's my speculation. That's the logical part of my brain thinking that if
Well,
it's
you
a
are the tech
software-
guy, so I trust you more than me.
if it's a software problem, It's more likely some exploitation of what the OS should expect the game to do,
Yeah.
and then responding appropriately for how it's programmed to handle with power.
So yeah, I was going to say PlayStation 4 I know does have safety features that are built into the actual hardware. So if you're running a certain amount of, if you drain too much power or you run too much memory, it will auto kill itself.
That's a normal safety in a power
Yeah.
supply.
Well, I'm
yes.
also wondering if it's overheating. Like the graphics card all of a sudden has a spike,
I
or
don't-
the
well,
unit itself has a spike.
Well,
in
but
temp.
that's the thing that will cause that because
Yeah.
you'll end up with this giant surge of power, and the PDU could even identify that as a surge and try to protect itself.
Yeah.
It's hard to say at this point.
Oh, it is 100%.
Literally, people are having the same problem, but decidedly from different issues involving Anthem, which is what's
Yeah.
really confusing about the entire thing.
So wait, they're still having these issues outside of Anthem now?
Oh no, they're with Anthem, but like
okay.
they're different causes within the game. Like people are doing different things within the game, and then it's having the same issue. So
Yeah.
it is definitely apparently something with the application itself. What's crazy here is that Sony is so worried about it, they started issuing refunds.
I was getting there, but that's cool.
Well, I was helping continue the storyline. Thank you. Until too many people asked for them, so now they're not doing it anymore.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Yeah, people were just trying to get their money back because they were tired of it.
because they're upset with the game. Yeah.
I mean, you fix the problem, people come back.
Well, I don't know
No,
if
don't get me
the
wrong. You're
problem
not going to have
fell
as
out.
many people
Yeah.
come back, but you're still going to have people come back.
It's amazing.
I'm
to me-
gonna still play it.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that Sony even issued it any because they're not like, yes, they have the PlayStation Store where they have to issue those refunds there, but Anthem's not their game. They have no responsibility to anybody to refund those issues. It has everything to do with EA.
Yeah.
Right.
So the fact that they even offered any blew me away.
Yeah.
That's how bad the issue is.
Well,
in my
Right.
opinion.
Sony's better. They will give out refunds from time to time if as long as you're not abusing the system. They want you to be happy. They want you to continue on the store. They don't want you going anywhere else.
Yeah.
So they're gonna eat the $60 for hopefully another 120 down the road.
See, I don't understand why they wouldn't just offer the refund if you had to RMA your device. That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. It's actually caused irreparable damage, to your device.
I think this is the first time that a game has done that so far in the PS4 era.
I don't think so. I think there's been a number of issues with different games.
What games can you think of? Because last time I checked, I'm yet to hear
Destiny and Division both had issues with people having issues with their consoles.
Well, they had issues with it restarting and stuff, but not like hard power disconnects.
There were definitely there was a game that was bricking PS4s early in the generation. It's not uncommon, is I guess my point. It's happened more often than you would think. Unfortunately, it's very frustrating.
Well, for the games that I played, I didn't have that many issues.
Well, we also play stable games.
Oh, kind of. But anyway,
What was it? You and Kepley, were saying that. Wait, 3 months.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we honestly had nothing to play for outside of Devil May Cry 5 until Division came out.
See, that's hard for me to imagine with you guys.
Yeah.
Really hard for me to imagine.
Oh no, we got a bunch of backlog. Don't get us wrong. Like we could, but Anthem was still on my list of like curiosity. Like I'm willing to dive in.
Gotcha.
I'll have to look this up later because right now the problem is
I'm
Anthem.
about to say you're eating up a lot of my time, sir.
Anthem is flooding. all
Yeah.
that. So you look up bricking PS4, it's Anthem.
Everywhere.
It is really unfortunate. I am hoping to see what they can do with it. Personally, as someone who owns a PS4 and owns Anthem on PS4, I'm going to not play the game for a while.
Yep.
Oh, wow, okay.
Putting it down. Division 2 comes out on the 15th of March. So until then, I've got other things I can kind of mess around with, play. I don't even need to play a video game. I could always do other things within my life.
Like read a book.
And I will wait until it's stable because this specific time period right now, whether you talk about Devil May Cry 5, there's Division, there's another One Piece game that I really want to play called World Seeker. All those are coming out right now, and I enjoy Anthem. I enjoy playing with John and our buddy Brian. I don't enjoy it enough to risk the chance of it bricking before those games come out.
I mean, I might dabble. We'll see. If the first time I have a power disconnect, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be the end of it.
It's entirely up to you, my friend. There are other things that EA is also working on.
Yeah, there's a new Star Wars game that Respawn's pushing out, and it's gonna be.
Give it a week.
I was gonna bring it up, but I was like, this will be like the first one since Battlefront 2.
Give it a week.
And all the loot box issues that we were talking about earlier, I was like, man, that would have been a good segue into. But
There's always still time left. Like
yeah, But it's going to be announced in April 14th is the new rumors coming out on the Twitters.
That's the day when it's going to get canceled, or
that's the day that we're going to find out if it's been canceled. I think. If they don't push this out, I think it's Jedi's
I can't remember the name
Last Order or something like that. If they feel like this is going to be their flagship to like really get it off the ground and like really make their Star Wars franchise payday, and we'll find out.
This was supposed to be, and is supposed to be, I should say, their single-player Star Wars game. Like, they said that they have been working on this. They pulled Project Ragtag, which was Amy Hennig and Visceral Games, and took assets, and then they're making this one, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, Fallen Order,
I
that's
didn't
right.
think about that. The only thing they've done so far is multiplayer.
Yeah. And only
We haven't seen a single player in a while.
technically 4 games.
They've tried, but I think they all got canceled.
Yeah. And then they released Battlefront 2, and its single player was terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see what comes out of this. Respawn does amazing work in Titanfall and Apex Legends. Everybody seems to be enjoying. So hopefully the EA bug will not.
If anybody could do it, it would be them.
Yeah, at this point, from that company.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel.
And it's super kind of like just. I hope that they can actually do something with this franchise because I feel like it's something that people really crave, and I think that has a lot of room for artistic.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and we've talked before, like the fact that they're not like doing everything they can to build off this franchise is mind-boggling.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely mind-boggling. But
Easiest way to bank profit.
oh my god! But speaking of Respawn, what is dead may never die.
No, what is dead may never die, and unfortunately,
It's dead.
the last nail just hit the coffin on the Vita. The last two, I guess, SKUs for the blue and the black Vita that were being made in Japan are now officially done in manufacturing.
Okay, on to the next.
Moment of silence, please.
You shut your mouth, sir, and have some decorum.
I said silence.
No.
We'll murder him after the show. It's
The,
really upsetting.
it's the thing is like buy the Vita now. If you love the Vita, buy your backup Vita. And have it ready.
Buy it to resell after production officially.
Well, I mean, you might be able to resell it later for a good price. I know I bought a couple of items that were extremely overpriced because of what it was. But my main thing is I would love the Vita. I have a backlog of games and an amazing amount of games that I'd like to play on the Vita. So I don't ever want it to die on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, the LCD does have better battery life.
It also has easier to charge, which bothers me so much.
I know. Well, they had this stupid plug for our original Vita, which I still use, but now then they went to the micro USB,
which is so easy to use. It is really unfortunate. It has been eclipsed by Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Speaking of Switch, it is time to talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield.
I bet you're excited.
The Pokemon games that were announced last week on Thursday. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to talk about it because we didn't have the news yet. Coming to Switch in fall 2019, so this year. It is going to be the first fully realized Pokemon game on Switch that is like from the core franchise, so it's not Let's Go. Yeah. It is in the Galar region, which looks to be inspired by the UK, which has me incredibly excited.
The windmills got me excited.
And the internet exploded when they announced that there were 3 starters as per usual, a fire rabbit, a grass monkey, that funky monkey. I've been waiting to fucking do that this entire time. And then an anxiety lizard named Sobble.
Anxiety lizard?
It just looks like it's always like panicking, like, ah!
You just don't like water types.
I actually love water types. The internet is exploding about Sobble and how it personifies their anxiety.
Their depression.
Their depression as well. So the hope is that the Sobble will grow into something interesting. My hope is that, in Game Freak, I know you've already developed the game, you've already figured out the type, I don't care. If you make the fire starter a firefighting type again, I will fucking murder you. It's so dumb. We're done with them. Throw them in the garbage.
It's a rabbit. What do you think it's going to be?
My hope...
Say steel.
That would be so cool. I actually have a little pentagram thing that we'll go over later about what the typing can be.
I'll be sure to zone out.
Nonetheless, I'm incredibly excited about it. There's a couple of interesting news stories. Like the internet exploded about how it's Sword, Shield, and Pokemon Gun. And so a Mexican news...
They said, oh, this is the American version, Pokemon Gun.
And so a Mexican news story picked it up and said, oh, they announced 3 new Pokemon games, Pokemon Sword, Shield, and Gun.
It was actually in a published newspaper, yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, to be fair,
the key art looks really good.
It looked really good.
It looks really good.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't. That'd be kind of cool having like a triple off franchise. Like, they'd be totally different, you know?
There are rumors right now that they're going to include a new type of evolution, which is an armored evolution, but we really don't know much more at this moment. So I'm sure at E3 they're going to talk more about it. I expect this game to release sometime in November, and you better believe I'll be pre-ordering it because I am super excited. Off the cuff, Sword or Shield?
He doesn't care.
I know he doesn't care, but I still want his opinion.
Shield.
I'm not going to play it, so I don't care. I'll play Sword because I'm aggressive.
I want to do Shield. So there we go. Well, we can be buddies.
So I want to play this game because but again, I'm so far behind on the Pokemon franchise. I look at it sometimes. I'm like, it's gonna be like a giant catch-up game.
Oh man, no, because all the Pokemon are gonna be new to you. You're gonna be excited.
Yeah, no, but it's really like a lot of the mechanics that I haven't been involved with over the like past 7 generations.
Literally, like every Pokemon game, there'll be a billion tutorials. You'll be caught up. You'll be fine.
We'll find out.
All I know is I want to describe to you a water Pokemon that's like Gyarados, except when it gets halfway through health, it becomes a Magikarp. How do you feel about that?
I feel like that's disadvantageous. And you better really boost its defensive stats.
It's got some incredible stats.
I was gonna go the other way around. I would really hope for the other way around. Okay, fine. It just starts out a Magikarp, all right, and a big flopping fish, and then
I'm sorry, I described this wrong. It doesn't evolve. It's
No,
one
no, no, no,
Pokemon.
no, no, that's what I mean.
That is like at its peak with its full HP. It's like a Gyarados, but once that HP reaches half, it loses all of its little friends because it has an ability called Schooling, and they all go away, and it becomes like a little Magikarp. It's called a Wishy-Washy.
Okay, I would think it would be cool to have something that has like a shell.
Yeah.
And like if it loses half its health or more, it goes into defensive mode, and you have to increase its health in order to get it out to be able to attack.
What if I
But
told
you could use it to grind, like in like competitive play.
Yeah.
In a way, I'm sure you could. But
What if I told you there was a Meteorite Pokemon that wanted to reach half health? It breaks out of its shell and speeds up really fast.
are you telling me that the Pokemon are aliens?
Pokemon are aliens, actually. That's what Deoxys is. Jeez, where you been?
Not playing Pokemon.
I'm very excited, as you can tell, because I can sit here and name off random Pokemon facts from Pokemon Sun and Moon
I
all
actually
day
sat in my
long.
car the other day and tried to name all the original Pokemon. I think I did really good.
I want you to... Oh, I know what our new opening for the show is. It's totally going to be the Poker Rat. We're going to do it after this.
Oh Lord.
Poker
Look
rap.
forward to it. Moving on to another Japanese franchise. Final Fantasy... Our timer stopped, by the way. That was a quick segue for the show that you don't get to see. Final Fantasy recently released a fighting game franchise over the course of the past, I would say, 7 or 8 years. It might be 10 at this point. Came out on the PSP. It's called Final Fantasy Dissidia. Incorporates a bunch of individuals from all the different franchises, usually one hero, one villain per franchise. And they've made it all the way to PS4. It was actually released in arcade in Japan first, then PS4 and PC here in the West. Apparently, it's not doing as well because they're going to reconfigure it to be similar to other hero shooters that we see for free-to-play. So the game's going free-to-play. You can purchase characters, or you get a roster of select heroes and villains every week, and you can only play with them.
That's interesting. That changes it up.
I thought it was a nice way to at least bring people in. It's a demo, but it's not just a demo. Because if you really do like the game, but you don't want to invest, you just pick it up and play every now and then. Like, we got a friend who lives in Washington, D.C., loves fighting games. I could probably talk him into it. So I thought it was a nice change of pace, and I really enjoy Square Enix in Final Fantasy, and I love them trying new venues for revenue.
That's bothering me.
Sorry, buddy. But I might check it out. It's happening. The Switch is happening soon. It's like April 15th.
Yeah.
So it's not even like you have to wait very long. So very cool.
I have too many games to play now, but it does sound interesting to watch.
That'll be my Fortnite then, I guess. Jeez.
Oh,
Louise.
really?
Speaking of fighting games, we're moving on. Evo's lineup has
He
been
doesn't play that many fighting games, so I'm surprised he cares so much.
Evo's lineup has been revealed. And I want to go over this for 2 reasons. One, if you do not watch Evo, but you have any interest whatsoever in watching people play video games, Evo's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because they do a whole production. It's like watching a boxing match. They've got commentators. They're talking about techniques. Like, it is absolutely wonderful.
You want to see people play like fighting games to their max potential? That is a place to watch it.
The lineup this year is going to include Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, Dragon Ball Fighters, which I'm super stoked about watching.
Yeah, I know.
Tekken 7, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, Under Night Nth X latest. That's the only one I really don't know. Soul Calibur 6, Mortal Kombat 11, Samurai Showdown, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yes.
No Melee.
That
This'll
is
be
the first time
since
ever.
Melee's release.
And what's awesome, it makes sense since you
Yeah.
have all the characters there, and the amount of levels that they have just gives it so much variability.
Yep.
It would be dumb not to.
I think it's frustrating to some players because whether you notice or not, Smash's actual background and like how the game functions changes with each iteration. So how Melee plays is different from how Ultimate plays.
Oh, I could feel it when
Yeah.
when I first started playing Ultimate. I was like, the jumps just feel so much different.
It is really interesting what they do. Brawl, which was after Melee, is one that I understand is reviled because it's the slowest. Like the way they've put
really?
movement is just incredibly slow comparatively.
Never played that one, so believe it or not.
No, I could see that. I mean, Ultimate is definitely much more responsive.
Yeah. So
I'm interested to see a lot of Mortal Kombat 11
yeah, with it
because
coming
it's a
out
game
in
that I wouldn't
April.
normally play, but I grew up playing, so I still have a lot of interest in it.
One of my favorite Evos, I was watching these two battle. I wish I could remember names, but I'm terrible at it. One of them was playing with, who's the smoke guy? I just for
Smoke. Syntax?
No, it's oh my lord,
Syntax. I say syntax.
I can't believe I just forgot it. I don't know.
Syrax or something.
People are probably screaming at the screen. The smoke guy from Mortal Kombat, haha, and then the Xenomorph from Alien. And in watching the two battle, I was like, this is incredible. I love watching.
You know, there's a character called Smoke.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I believe you 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. But regardless, you should check out Evo when it comes out here this summer. And I believe that is everything that you need to know because this is
The important.
That's right. We got all three of us that time.
Yeah, helps when you don't try to sabotage it.
I always sabotage stuff, much like what AI is going to do to us in the coming future.
Skynet.
Talk to us.
Okay, so it may or may not actually ruin us, but it's an interesting concept anyway, presented by the Association of Computing Machinery, Maria Slavkovic. I'm assuming her name is Maria. It's spelled with a J.
Sounds Italian.
From the
Did I use a lot of J's?
from Norway, the University of Bergen in Norway.
I was about to go all over John.
Yeah, that would have been gross.
That would have been great. The notion is that the idea is that the idea is that Google Home and Amazon Echo should have moral dimensions integrated into their ability to monitor what happens. So they do record and listen to what happens, around your home on a regular basis, that kind of thing. It does listen for your voice. It does listen for you specifically to say their trigger words, that kind of thing. But, it's no secret anyway that they do listen for the purpose of targeting advertisements for things that, you would probably listen for or want to look at.
Okay, Google, love me.
You said it, and I was like, I know there's one behind the curtain. No, so the concept is that eventually, at some point, they could add or should add, these moral dimensions to it. So the examples given specifically is, let me see here. Oh, a kid who doesn't get, any kind of, doesn't grow up with some specific type of moral compass, that kind of thing. And let's say somebody hears something from the other room. So the idea would be that somebody might ask the Alexa, hey, trigger word, you hear snorting, do you hear snorting noises coming from the bedroom? And the idea is at that point, does the Alexa make an automatic determination to call the police? Does it make a determination to notify the parents? Or does it make a notification? Ironically, the C part here is inform the asker in the most soothing voice that he should stop trying to get the other person into trouble. But at what point do you have sort of a moral compass built into these things to maybe suggest or proactively, prevent against things that would cause you harm or that you might do to yourself or might be illegal?
So, like, stuff like, if there's abuse happening in the household, it recognizes that there's abuse and calls the police, or if it senses a burglary, which I'm sure you could probably, easily outfit that with more mechanical features to ensure that it's about a burglary.
That's the whole point of a home security system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, integration-wise.
Yeah.
But, You have to really open yourself up in the microphone realm if you're going to do this.
Yeah.
If we're just talking about purely speculative, not knowing, exactly where AI is at and what it is truly capable of right now, I feel like I would be remiss if it would save someone's life and if I didn't use it. But at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, I'd just rather live my life than have to worry about who's listening all the time.
It is a really interesting point because I think when you look at a lot of popular sci-fi, that's like that question has already been answered. Like the 9 times out of 10, we have AI, robotics, all of that has some level of moral compass, whether it's good or bad determination. I feel also that it is a natural progression. I don't think it's something we're going to be able to avoid in the future. I definitely think when you look at these large corporations like Google, like Microsoft, like Amazon, they're trying to figure out the best way to iterate on this product and giving it a semblance of self and understanding of another person's needs to the point where they're going to need emotional understanding, I think is going to happen. Now, whether or not you allow that to integrate with the user and how that's utilized, like you laughed at the option C, but to me that seems the most consumer friendly.
Yeah.
Oh, just saying mind your own business.
Of it just going like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Like it not calling the police on you.
No. So the concept is it's telling the person who's asking.
Oh,
about
I'm
it.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no. The idea is that it's like contacting the person the kid who's asking, like the brother who's like asking, hey Trigger, where do you hear this happening in the other room? Hear snorting noises, for cocaine coming from the other room.
Yeah. No, I
was thinking sex when you said that, and I was like, well, whatever's whatever.
I do believe, though, it is going to have to be something that consumers can not necessarily turn on and off, but just ignore. Like, that's the only way it's going to work because people will just not buy the product, or another corporation will develop a product that allows you to do so.
Right. Well, so my thought process here is I don't think Google, Amazon, or Microsoft or Apple want to touch it with, a 10-foot pole because their sales will tank as soon as that happens. At least the recorder's over here this time.
Yeah.
Good call.
No, but I don't think they would want to touch it with a 10-foot pole just because they don't want that to happen. They don't want their product to get this bad reputation anyway of, literally somebody else is spying on you from a moral compass standpoint. Like if you don't follow our moral guidelines here, then you're wrong and we'll report you to the cops.
Sounds really 1984-ish.
So
right, exactly.
I do find this interesting because I interpreted it differently. You're stating that Google has a moral compass that all of their products would have, or Alexa it would be determined by the creator. But in my head, when you said moral compass, it is the AI determining its own moral compass. Like it has a baseline that it learns off of utilizing the consumer.
But
Alexa hears the bubbler going, and it's like, I'm calling the police for marijuana use.
But
real angry with it.
But that's the thought process of so if you think about it this way, the AI is part of a centralized cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the AI just plugs in the variables that are associated with your user account to its general platform, and then you get the same features as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the idea is that they still have a centralized AI system that has its own moral compass. It's not like each individual node can really have its own, that kind of thing.
So then, yes, I agree with you. They'll never do that. If they can customize it to the user, then that's exactly the route it's going to go.
Because, I mean, that thing that sits over there has like barely the computing power of, like a small, like a Raspberry Pi, barely.
It's like an Arduino, right?
Yeah.
They're like cupcakes. You just eat it.
Yes.
I don't know what an Arduino is.
It's really crunchy. It's kind of green,
Okay,
kind of thing.
yeah,
It's a
sounds
little bit
like
of
an
metal
Arduino.
involved, but don't worry about it.
Sounds
It's good for you. No, but the idea is that like should a moral compass exist in these things? I mean, should they tell you what's right and wrong, or should they act upon whatever it thinks is right and wrong?
I think there's a big distinction between telling and acting, because I don't care if Google's like, all that cocaine you're snorting, that's probably not good for you. It's another thing entirely if Google calls the police on me. I'm saying the buzzword a lot. I'm sorry. The big G.
I mean, if you're just saying the word Google, that's not a big deal. But
If I said, okay, Google, subscribe
I might have
to Strange Happy Hour.
Yeah, they'll get really upset with you. So my thing is like, I look at like Fifth Element, where like, he goes to get his cigarette, and it's like, oh, yeah, and it gives you, like, this much filter and this little bit, and it tells you about how many people are going to die, and it keeps just pushing it at your face. I'm like, I wouldn't want anything around me like that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm going to live my life the way I want to. If I ask you, hey, how many people die a year from cigarette use? Well, that's my personal choice. Whether I want you throwing that in my face and telling me constantly, not really.
Well, that one specifically, he's trying to quit.
Yeah, whatever.
I
Schematics.
schematics. I also think it's very interesting because even the telling subtly would change behavior. Like if you're it's that Pavlov's dog. Like as you're over and over again repeated the process of that's not good for you. That's not good for you. That's not good for you. You're constantly like, well, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Well,
Like
it also is negative.
Telling the parents is something I think would be okay.
yeah.
If there's an Echo device or a Google Home, that kind of thing, that are sitting in a child's bedroom and it hears something. Okay, let's say it's even medical related, of choking, or really bad coughing, or something like that, gasping.
As a baby monitor thing, as a notification to send to the parent, absolutely.
Right.
Past that,
build in
no.
the same moral features though of, okay, it's in a child's room and you hear them snorting cocaine.
Or they're having sex. It's like, hey, by the way, he didn't use a condom because I didn't hear that wrapper fall to the ground.
All I can think is that Google's going to think this child is choking, and they're just an asthmatic who's masturbating. like,
Or she's the one that's choking.
there's something going on in the bedroom. Or he. We don't care either way.
Yep. Nope. He, she, whatever.
It is.
Float your boat.
It is a really interesting concept
Or sinks your ship.
because I do believe that there is some merit and value in that idea. The problem is that it is also terrifying.
It is also very filling. This beer, by the way.
So good.
My God.
Hence why we're at the 39-minute mark and we're just on number 2, whereas normally we're like 25 minutes. Like, pass me the second one. There's just so much to unpack. Because it wouldn't be a simple process. It's going to happen. It is going to happen over time in a way that people won't realize it. Like,
it'll slip into terms and conditions at one point. You'll never know about it until some snoop goes through and does that. I say snoop because those are the only people that would actually read terms and conditions. But somebody actually makes it public and is like, hey, by the way, they've already said that they could do this.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of the Google Assistant. We saw that demo last year during their conference, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to sneak in. They're going to show something off incredible. And you're going to go, I want that in my home. And then you're right. In the terms and services, it's going to be there. And then the feature's going to activate one day. And you go, oh, I didn't realize it's a thing. They must have patched it.
As long as the features turn on and off, I'm okay.
That's kind of my
Or
thought.
Suddenly
there's
your
no
parents
way.
are getting a phone call, that says, by the way, we detected little Jimmy is smoking weed in his bedroom.
Yeah.
See, the drug use, I'm
Except
less
at that point,
concerned
weed will be
about.
legal and it won't matter.
Well, yeah, no, we're making fun.
No, I know that. I just, the example they utilized, right, was drug use.
yeah.
Yeah, and so
Oh, wow, they really did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
for me, I feel like that's less important
It
than
got specific too. Like the 16-year-old Amazon Echo is equipped with a moral compass and say, Dad, Mom, or a family of Dad, Mom, Herbert, the 16-year-old jewel-toking jackal of a son, and Matilda, the 17-year-old aspiring astronaut daughter. Regretfully, as Erasmus and Rottweiler, or Erasmus the Rottweiler, doesn't get a moral compass. Like
What were those words supposed to be a sentence?
they're talking about basically applying a moral compass to each individual and then like giving it the information as a group data.
See,
to
I think
the
even
parent.
as a system, like if they could identify the person and how to react to you individually throughout
Yes.
a system, that would be better. Based on your system preferences, but you would need some kind of track or marker to identify you outside of your voice on top of that.
Yeah.
Like something like this that would be like, oh, okay, this is the person because this is his location in the house.
Well, I mean, you just integrate with other devices you have. We're already starting to see that now where you can integrate cameras and lights. I mean, we use lights with the Google Home here, right?
Well,
So-
just the way that
for
our
the lights on this set, even.
Yeah, like you're seeing the integration already. They don't even need to own all the hardware. They just need to make sure that the software all talks to each other.
just the way that our government is about certain liberties that they decide to take with things. I'm not okay with that. There's no way that this isn't Skynet or
No, I definitely agree with your hesitance because I think we as a society and not just the United States, but like as the first world specifically, because we are the ones that are utilizing this technology every day, just hand over rights, hand over fists without even realizing it, and we're all guilty of it because we enjoy these amenities.
Well, so here's a quote actually from Slavkovic's paper anyway. Quote, if we want to avoid an Orwellian outcome or avoid Orwellian outcomes, it's important that all stakeholders are identified and have a say, including when machines shouldn't be able to listen in. Right now, only the manufacturer decides.
Yeah, and see, that is a problem.
Ooh, no.
Right. Well, because the issue is you say, yes, I want to agree to terms of service, and suddenly you've signed life off.
Well, and
Yeah.
even you can mute
Life rights even.
You can mute
It's recording your life.
There's a limit.
you can mute the
No, there's a limit.
Amazon Echo. You can mute all of these devices, but even if you mute them, they're still technically listening.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you have to physically unplug them from a wall to stop.
Right. Well, because I imagine some future, seeing a movie of like a kid who wants to do cocaine in his room, and he turns off the lights, closes the blinds, that kind of thing, and then goes over to his Google Home and unplugs it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, not only that, but you think for advertising, they're listening on what you're talking about, and all of a sudden you're getting mailers in about, Tide and Sweet Baby Java and some weird ass looking squirrel that you called Theodore Harrington Collins.
it identifies the acronyms. THC suddenly starts sending advertisements for weed company out in Colorado.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I do want to take this time to remind everyone that straws are killing sea turtles. I only mention this because Dylan at one point in time may listen to this video, and his Instagram once again will pick up a bunch of photos of straws killing sea turtles because I had one conversation with him about it, and it filled his Instagram for a month.
That's amazing.
So we're constantly straddling this line right now of comfortability and what you're willing to give up. It's unfortunate because I, as someone who enjoys technology, really do enjoy the avenues that we're treading and where we're going with it. But it does lead to suppressing the single person's worth. Are you done with it?
He's trying to make it more difficult for himself.
You couldn't hear that, but it was the tiniest squeak.
I was touching it, and it was just making a bunch of weird noises, and I
Why
was
don't
like,
you just pop it?
'Cause I don't know if I really want to drink it. It's that heavy, dude.
Pop it, dude.
Just do
If
it.
you don't, somebody else will. We'll give it to Kevin.
He and I will have to fight to the death
We'll
over it.
drink
We'll
it.
sneak it into his Kool-Aid. That's what you do to kids, right? Kepley has been
What,
on the show.
drug them?
I think we all know that he's not a kid. I have to protect myself now because of YouTube. But,
I mean, they can't even get that right. And now we're
You're
supposed to
not wrong.
expect them to come in our house and then microphone everything, and then, oh, don't worry, we'll deal with your data just fine.
well, technically they already are in our house and they are microphoning everything and they are dealing with our data. It will be consumer based, whether people agree to it and whether they want it and how it's handled comes from that point, which means you as a consumer, make sure you're reaching out and talking. I know it feels like shouting in the void sometimes, but you have to be vocal about your products and the things you like. We have avenues that are very minuscule and it can feel like nobody's listening, but Twitter, Facebook.
I know exactly how that feels.
However that is. Did you say something? I'm sorry. I missed it. Complete and utter segue, but there is Wish Studio is the name of a PlayStation developer that was recently shut down.
That's you.
13 individuals. What?
I can't remember.
They did That's You, which is the PlayStation mobile game, or the PlayStation PlayLink game that came out. It was one of the first rounds. They recently were shutting down. An article came out. I linked the tweet and linked to the tweet that somebody else put out and then commented like, hey, this is really sad. I understand it's a small studio and layoffs happen, but this still doesn't make it any worse. Like, I really like this game. Best of luck to everyone. And the CEO of the company reached out to me and replied to my tweet. And that's just something that can happen. So don't think that your voice is completely unheard.
Right.
It's there. You just got to keep talking until someone's listening.
Especially if you do it on Twitter, because apparently everybody's listening on Twitter.
Yeah, it's really weird how that works.
Specifically Donald
sometimes.
Trump. Have you tried that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think in the comments above. You could also let us know in the description below if you'd like. I'm still waiting for the day where someone goes in and messes with the inspector and puts it in the description.
Not only that, but also if you're,
Oh.
a fan of Evo,
Yeah.
definitely hit us up on what you're excited about and what you want to see.
I think Mark wants to continue talking about this.
No, you're cool. I was just
one
putting that out
closing
there.
line, because
I agree.
this was my favorite line of the article. Personal quote. This is you'll find the link down in the description for ZDNet post. The quote from their post is, "Personally, I'm not sure I can wait for the headline. Alexa reports burglar to police. Burglar turns out to be drunk homeowner." It'll be an interesting time.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fitting place to leave off because now it's time for last call.
Last call.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I do have a few shout-outs that I would like to list off. One, once again, I'm shouting out to B Scotch and Dots on Twitch. It was my birthday this past weekend, and he did a nice birthday stream for me.
Oh, what did he do? Another wet noodle fest?
He asked me specifically what boss that I wanted him to fight, and I named a few bosses in Bloodborne, and he did a wet noodle run with that. So it's very
fun.
entertaining. You can find him on Twitch, B Scotch and Dots.
Then the description.
Above in the comments. He is currently working on Soma, and then we'll be switching off to Dark Souls 3 soon. So
Okay, cool.
keep an eye out for that. The other shout out for me was this website called, noclip.site.
What?
I'm going to double check one more
They
time.
should probably get a different name.
Noclip.website. Noclip.website is a site that you can go to and look at video game maps in your web browser. So it has games from like the GameCube, N64, and you literally go through. It has what looks like a command prompt. Select the game you want, pulls up the map. It's very cool. I highly recommend
Interesting.
using it on a computer. Did you try it on your mobile phone?
No, I did not.
Okay. I have not tried it on a mobile phone, but it just showcases a lot of old game maps that are very interesting. It is the core map, so you're able to kind of like zoom around and move through polygons and all kinds of stuff. Very entertaining. So,
BT dubs not usable on Mac and Safari.
oh, good to know. There you go.
So probably not going to work on my phone.
Other than that, we can move on to our last call question of the evening. Once again, I have been selecting these at random, but I believe John or Mark put this one in, so I took it. Please feel
Yes.
free to leave in the comments if you have your own question you'd like to ask the cast. But until then, we'll talk about this one, which is, if you could create a movie sequel for a movie that never got one, what would it be?
I've got 2.
Why don't you start us off since you're the one who put it in there?
Nope. I didn't make it.
Did you put it in there?
No.
Are you a liar?
Yeah, I'm a liar.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, that meant Kempley or Dylan put it in there? That's great.
So-
He said no. I was like,
One you're gonna know probably.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
Push.
Yep, that's right, baby.
There
That's why I wanted to bring a second one that he wasn't gonna know. Push was actually really cool. Had a really good, cool premise. It was very like the world itself wasn't exaggerative, so it was like you had psychic powers involving telekinesis or pushing, which is like you're controlling somebody, and it was in a modern setting without being like, oh, you're in this futuristic world. Da, da, da. It was actually done really well, and the character selection was also really good. Chris Evans, young, I mean,
Yeah.
killed it.
Killed it.
The girl in there was cute too, but I don't think I've seen her in much anything after that.
I have to look it
But
up.
it was something that I think could be made into a game if you wanted to. Story-based game, I think you could easily make it into. And
Right.
also a sequel would be easily done in that world. Also, the other one is Wanted.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes.
oh, okay, yeah.
So it's like John Wick kind of assassin world. It's got a lot of intricacies in it. Something that could easily be broadened or even, brought into focus on a specific time period in its origins even. And kind of almost like the original Assassin's Creed, just with winding bullets.
Interesting.
That
Okay.
is interesting, yeah. I believe I have 2 of my own, and I'm going to throw them out there. One I don't want a sequel to, but I want a prequel to. Reign of Fire.
Ooh.
That is the Dragon movie with Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey. And the only reason I really want a prequel to it is because the movie's a super B movie that I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
But I would love to see how the dragons interacted in somewhere that wasn't Britain. And like during the fall, people trying to fight it. America to me screams because of the fact that we have a very large military. So seeing that kind of kaiju-esque battle, almost like Godzilla or something along those lines, would be entertaining.
As long as he wasn't fat.
Or something that is completely isolated like New Zealand or Australia. Like I would
Ooh,
love
yeah.
to see either one of those happen because I think that'd be very interesting.
Okay.
The sequel I want is actually a video game movie. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this from the comments. No, that would be incredible though too. Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
So that movie is very much like a mid-tier film, but I enjoyed what they were doing with the concept of Assassin's Creed.
It was controlled. It was something that was easily tamed and wasn't over-expected.
Yeah.
You just reminded me. I never finished the movie because, ironically, on a JetBlue flight, going up to Philadelphia or whatever, I started watching it halfway through, and then it wasn't offered on the way back.
Oh,
Like the flight was
Man.
too short, so it ended before I got there, and then I couldn't watch it on the way back.
That's
It's
a shame.
ridiculous.
it does have an ending that could easily lend itself into another film. There's plenty of stuff from the source material that they could easily pull into. I definitely think there's a kernel there, and it's unfortunate that I guess like most video game franchises, they went in a different direction than the games.
But it wasn't totally off.
Well, it wasn't totally off, but it wasn't totally close, and people bemoaned the fact that it wasn't. I was like, I don't need an Ezio film.
They would have been mad
Yeah.
if it wasn't exact, and they would have been mad
Yeah.
that they didn't do it exactly right the way they would have done it. And
But
whatever.
it's easily like a 7.5
Yeah.
8.0 film
Right.
that could totally use a sequel to build it up.
You could tell where they had the issues and where they made the fixes
Yep.
to make it work, and I am so proud of them for doing that. It was next to Ghost in the Shell, being in the spectrum of a different art form coming into the movies. I totally respect that film as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Interesting. Okay, so this one actually kind of has a sequel, but it's a standalone sequel.
Okay.
It's a movie, Jack Reacher.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, so Jack Reacher has a sequel called Never Go Back. Now it's a standalone sequel, so it still involves Tom Cruise as being Jack Reacher, the badass that he is, that kind of thing. But the first story was tremendously better than the sequel. Like the second one seemed so scattered whenever I watched it that it didn't. Like, don't get me wrong, it followed along the same kind of principle.
Yeah.
But the first Jack Reacher had so many small nuances. I've gone back now and watched it 5 to 10 times, and I noticed things I didn't notice the first 10 times I watched it.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay.
Didn't think that movie was that deep.
Right. So, like, there's certain things that you watch because he plays mind games all the time with people as far as, like, what he wants or what he expects and what he understands of the situation anyway from a broader perspective. And what he draws from conclusions that do make sense when you think about it all the way through, but they play him as a character who can think all the way through it like that. Mm-hmm. And you just sort of figure these things out along the way, that kind of thing. Like, you realize after the fact, like, oh, wow, I really could have figured that out, but I just completely missed this or that, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
I love those movies.
finding another sequel to something like that, even involving, like, first off, oh, God, I don't even remember her
I'll have to
name.
watch this movie now.
I can never remember her name.
How you're describing this reminds me a little bit of the Ghost Rider situation, where the original Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage was very campy, very over the top, and then the second one they tried to lean into the rated R, and so it was still Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider, but they were barely connected. Like that tenuous thread is the only thing that put them together.
But like the characters they picked for this, because they had Tom Cruise, lead child, Rosamund Pike, Alexia Fast, like played a young girl, that kind of thing. Werner Herzog, if you guys have.
I
know these people by face more than I do their names, which I feel sad about.
Probably, but they did a very good job of it, and I felt like the second one just didn't have the same impact with me. Like
Panache, if you will.
Right.
Well, sometimes everybody's got a one-off, and they're just trying to, get on the.
So if they involve
success
this,
of
if they involve the same, let's say even the same. I mean, they can't involve the same antagonists just because they all die, but.
Spoilers.
But the problem is that it really should have been done almost the same way over again in a different fashion, with a different mind game, that kind of thing. And I'd have enjoyed that tremendously more than what we got.
So you
Which
want
was
to
a
read
generic
that?
action film.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's
okay.
sad.
Yeah.
Take something good and then just
Right.
dumb it down.
Like the difference is. Like the second one, he's trying to prove somebody's not innocent for treason, and the second one, he's trying to put somebody down for killing, or mass killing people.
Okay.
But it completely flips, and you just don't expect it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll have to watch these films now.
Yeah.
I've never seen Jack
I
Reacher.
definitely recommend them.
I had a pithy remark that how I was going to end this, and I can't remember now. So we're just going to.
Brent's a dick, and there you go.
Do get excited. I'm sure you've already seen it already. We're going to do the poker app. That's going to happen. But until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. The Poke Grab?
Poker
the
rap.
poker rap.
Oh,
Catch
Poke
'em,
Rap.
catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon!
Yeah.
That was a good show, guys. I like it. It was
Yeah, it was
smooth.
okay.
It ran through. John's just being a negative Nancy today.
I told you I wasn't feeling it. And you're an ass.
Why am I an ass?
You're always an ass.
I mean, yeah, but why am I an ass this time?
I don't know.
Okay.